my beautiful Enabler podcast family. Thank you for being with us on this journey. We're episode 31, about to commence. It's been lovely. Been a very productive year. I was able to get with some of my close friends, and there was nothing but encouraging words that I received last week when I was hanging out with a couple of them. And
Oh, really?
absolutely, and they were pretty impressed. So we've been able to pump one out at least on a weekly basis since we started.
You lost me at punk.
Record an episode and put it out.
No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, Jess gets to do all the fun stuff and hang out with people and do FaceTime. No one wants to talk to David, though.
No, but he gets all the love on YouTube, all the
Oh,
recognition.
jeez.
He's a YouTube celebrity. Like, fucking Dave, we love you. Dave, let us show you our tits. Stuff like that, you know what I mean? I just get people that want to talk to me and get some advice every now and then, so. He's the rock star, as you can tell. He's wearing all black,
Oh, Jesus.
I'm over here in fucking, sweats from Walmart. Anyways, listen, we're glad to be back, episode 31. Before we get started, like we always tend to do, Dave, do you have
Yeah, real quick, just want to share some stuff.
Yeah,
1170 downloads, but what's interesting is geographics are pretty stable, and we do have some five unknown locations that the Podbean cannot, cannot identify the geographic locations of the downloads or these people or followers or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. I've never seen that before. But it doesn't matter what I do or try to plug in a little bit without doing anything, without going beyond the legal, little dashboard here. But
which we always operate within. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool. But it's just interesting how we get that many downloads and unrecognized or unknown geographical areas.
It's unknown for a reason, right?
Do tell.
Yeah, it's probably Putin,
Okay.
Japan, CIA, BlackRock,
Oh, God.
and probably one of your crazy exes.
Wow! Crazy exes?
That's it. Those are the five that are unknown and we can't trace. Apparently, it's no country. It's no fucking city. It's whatever.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I just thought I'd share that, but everything is trending really well. Everything's looking really good.
Mm-hmm.
People are listening. People are downloading. Obviously, it's just what you said earlier on past podcasts or past shows where you had mentioned, hey, you know what, people don't follow, but they are listening. They are downloading. That tells you one thing, and that they're listening.
Absolutely.
And for a couple reasons you had mentioned, because they don't either want to be seen or associated or
Or they don't want to give the love.
Yeah.
They don't want us to know that they're listening, and you know what I mean. Like maybe they don't feel part of it, and for whatever reasons. But listen, our biggest thing here has always been that you guys get the message, that you guys are able to masticate, the information spiritually, and take from it what you will, and that's our biggest purpose here. Like I said, we don't do this for the accolades.
Yeah.
We don't do this to be trending or anything like that. Obviously, we do want to get bigger. We realize there's like 7 million people out here in the world, and that's the goal, to be able to reach every single
Trillion.
one. We're trillionaires, but
No, I think a testament to that is a message I sent you last week of someone who I know very close to, Big Sid. If you're listening, this is a shout out to you. But
what's up, Big Sid?
And he sent me that message that was
Yeah.
pretty. We started thinking about life choices and listening to Nito's little trilogy podcast that we did,
Yeah.
and really started thinking about things, and really, it takes a lot of balls to send someone a message and say,
Yeah.
damn, this is making me think a certain way. It's making me think about decisions. It's making me think about the future, and it's pretty crazy.
Matter of fact, I'd like to read a message
Yes,
that I
yes.
received
Do
from
it.
one of my boys, younger than me. You know what I mean? He's done very well for himself, and just like every one of us, we've had our struggles. This one's from my boy Ivan Nava, which is my boy Joel's younger brother.
Okay.
And he said, "What's up, brother? Just wanted to congratulate you on the podcast that you are doing. I listened to it, and it's powerful."
Wow.
I thanked them obviously for the love, and he is like, "Yes, my brother. From my change, I remember you told me to surround myself with positive people, and I did."
Good.
So, good for you, Ivan. Thank you for the love, bro. It's much appreciated.
Appreciate it, Ivan.
I've always, appreciated it, even though you're younger, bro. You started moving smarter than some of us that were older than you, and that's, all credit to you, bro. As a result, you have 3 beautiful daughters, and, you've been able to stay with your lovely wife, and it's, more amazing things down to come in the pipeline for you, bro. So keep listening, man, and we appreciate the support, bro. And if, the biggest thing that you can do for us is just maybe spread the word and the awareness that there is local boys from Wilmington or, from the South Bay, they're trying to do something positive to uplift, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we appreciate the love, Ivan, man. And anybody else that's out there, just spread the message that there's, boys from Wilmington that are doing a podcast, and, we're talking about spirituality, how to become better men, and how to, get out of our own way to allow the divinity that lies within us to be able to show up and, us show up as the best versions of ourselves on a daily basis. So.
Yeah. Ivan, Sid, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Anyways, we're going to get right into this, Dave.
Go for it.
This is episode 31 of the Enabler Podcast, and we're going to label this one, Are We Holding Ourselves Hostage?
Are we holding ourselves hostages?
Yes.
Now, how did you go get into that? I like how you're, you had, obviously we talk about everything, but
yeah.
When you had mentioned this to me, you called me supercharged. You were charged up.
Oh, yeah.
And tell everyone how that transpired and how it started. Give us the meat and potatoes.
Yeah. So as I do, I try to consume as much. I'm a fan of the podcasting world. I think it's a great platform to really be able to speak to gain knowledge from a personal perspective from experts in different fields and people that have lived through things that we couldn't even imagine going through. I find a lot of fortitude in hearing these people that are experts in their particular field, especially in things that I would have never even imagined of having an interest in. But it's so interesting, the dynamics, how everything is. I always find the correlation between things that I might hear, and I always try to make the correlation to how it affects us on a personal level. And so that's how I came to this, topic that we're going to be discussing today on episode 31. I called David pretty pumped up about this when I first, these things come usually when I'm walking by myself, you know what I mean? And like things just click. Like a thought will come up, and you know what I mean? Like I entertain the thought a little bit more, and I try to focus on why that thought popped up in my mind to begin with, because I always do believe that everything happens for a reason. So when something pops into my mind, there's a level of awareness that I'm supposed to share or give it or sit with it for it to reveal itself and unpack itself a little bit more. And so this particular time, I remember a day or two previously I had heard a podcast. And it was just a snippet. Joe Rogan has these snippets that he does that are like, 5 minutes.
I was just going to ask, how long are they?
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes. And it just happened to be an episode with him. Excuse me, folks. And Dr. Phil. Okay. And Dr. Phil was talking on an issue about how he met with some people that worked for the CIA, and they were, I think he had visited there, and he had met with some people that were terrorist negotiators.
Jesus.
And one thing that he drew from that discussion or that time that he spent with them was something very interesting that blew me away when I heard it to begin with, but I hadn't made the correlation yet. This didn't happen to 2 days later. But he said, the negotiating experts have found that most of these people that go to the extremes of taking people hostage and threatening their lives to get leverage for, whether it be the U.S. government or whoever they're asking the demands of, what drives them to those extremities most of the time is something as simple as them never truly ever being heard. And it just fucking blew my mind because we don't, it's just such a simple thing that could draw somebody to those extremities of jeopardizing or taking innocent people's lives in order for them to, for the first time in their life, feel like they got people's attention and people are finally acknowledging them and validating their existence and validating their strength and validating their desperation to really be heard, for them to really hear, for people to really hear their demands and understand and so they can finally see, listen, I'm tired of not having a voice. If I need to kidnap these innocent people and start killing them off one by one in order for you guys to meet my demands or listen to what I'm being so passionate about it drove me to do this. It might not necessarily be that they have anything against those people because chances are they've never met these people. These are just random people that happen to be somewhere that got taken hostage, as is the case in many situations. But I just thought that was so fucking interesting. Like, something that simple could drive someone to do something so fucking extreme. To be, you know what I mean, to hold somebody hostage in order for them to finally feel that they're being heard for the first time in their lives. And it just, you know, it was impactful to hear because it's like, just because you didn't hear me and I've been trying to communicate this message to you and it doesn't seem to be important to you, I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end about this. So it has driven me to this point. And most of these terrorists, as you know, or, you know, people that take hostages, they're at their wit's end where even if they were to do away with, you know, the hostages, they're willing to die themselves.
Just to prove their point.
Just to prove their point. Just to prove their point.
To be heard.
You know, and then it took me to, you know, I started making like associations like these kids that go around shooting these elementary schools or, you know, middle schools or high schools. These school shooters, it's like, that's probably the same mentality that they feel. There were kids that were never acknowledged, kids that they were always outcast or outlandish or not accepted. And they're driven to these extremities, you know, but not to get off too far off the subject, it's like, I was really concentrating on that hostage part, right? And I was just blown back because it's like, yeah, that makes total fucking sense. That, you know, and it's like I said, I always try to, how does that apply to us? Because obviously what we're discussing here is on a terrorist level. It's on a hostage level, like on very high stakes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it gets any more high stakes than taking hostages.
Yeah. When there's lives involved.
When there's innocent lives involved. And you know, you have no ill will against these people personally, but anybody will do in order for you to get your message across.
Yeah.
And so, you know, 2 days later, I'm walking and I'm like, huh. And it just fucking clicked. And I was like, okay, because I was like, how do I make the correlation between that, what I heard, which blew me away. How could that possibly apply on an individual basis? And it just fucking clicked. And I'm like, are we doing the fucking same thing individually? Am I doing the same thing individually? Is that what I did for years without me truly knowing? Am I holding the best version of me hostage out of spite because I feel that I've never been listened to? I've never been appreciated. I've always been overlooked. And it just it really pushed me. Like, I was kind of overwhelmed by it, bro. And I got a little emotional at first, you know, and I was like, wow. You know, I shared it with, my girl too, you know, and she thought it was an interesting take, you know? She was driving on the way to work, and me and her were discussing it, and she was like, that's interesting. That's interesting. She like, that's an interesting dynamic to that how you made that correlation and associated something that you heard to us doing that on an individual level. And so I pose the question to you, Dave. Do you think that's far-fetched? Or do you think there's a good possibility at some point on a personal level you might have held, or you could possibly still be holding the best version of you hostage, and you refuse to release that version to the world out of spite because you don't feel that you've ever really truly been heard, and that you have spite against the world or certain people or certain institutions or even family or friends or whoever it might be? Do you think there's a possibility at some point you've held the best version of you hostage?
I think so. I think you're right. There's several correlations, and I think some of us, maybe all of us, a big portion of us, do it without even knowing we do it. We're just so angry. There's so much rage and frustration. We don't think about how much we're holding ourselves back, and it turns into something entirely different. And sometimes those people will never know, myself included. And when you said that to me, when you mentioned that to me, it really did feel like I was holding that back, but it took a while for me to dig in and figure out what was it, why, and how did I let it get to this point?
Yeah.
And that's a question that very few people, I think, ask themselves. And people even, yes, they have that emotion, they have that anger or that frustration, not being heard, not being acknowledged, but they don't they don't have that intent to say, I'm not gonna do this until I'm heard. They kind of kick it to the back. They just kind of throw it to the back, and they try to do enough so they fit in at least a little bit, to seem like there's some type of normalcy, whatever normal is to them.
Yeah.
But they think they just do it to fit in. So I think it touches on a lot of different categories based on how people, behave, how they're treated, how they accept it, how they respond to it.
Or even something as simple as like feeling like they've never truly ever been heard in their lives.
Yeah.
Do you understand how simple that is? But it's complicated. We can unpack that shit for days. What the fuck does that mean? Not ever feeling like you've been heard. Like, we could take this back to childhood trauma again. Were you that child that was told that children should be seen, not heard? Every time you try to express yourself, were you shushed away?
Don't talk unless you're spoken to.
Yeah, or were your parents just way too busy to acknowledge what you might have been going through? Mm-hmm. Have you been taught from an early age to repress whatever you got to say because nobody has time for fucking pussies or wimps or, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. Like, this leads me back to something that I also heard. Gabor Mate was talking about one day, and he was speaking about how most of our politicians today are children that are suffering from childhood trauma, because it takes a specific personality to want the accolades of being in the public eye as a government official. And he told a very story that was compelling. And I'll share it with you guys. He said, let me give you a story of what I mean by what most of our politicians are and who they are. He was like, imagine being a 5-year-old girl and you're running home from school because a couple of boys are bullying you and trying to hit you. And you make it home. You manage to avoid this group of kids or this group of kids that are trying to bully you, these bullies that you manage to make it home.
Yeah.
And so you get in your house and you tell your mother at 5 years old, Mom, there's a bunch of kids that are following me that want to beat me up. and your mom turns around and tells you, you go out there and deal with that. We don't raise sissies in this house. And so you go out there because that's what your mother asked you to do, and you get beat up right in front of your house. And then you have to come right back in to dust yourself off, and the matter not ever been discussed again. Think about it from an emotional state of you being that 5-year-old child.
Mm-hmm.
How impactful would that one event have been in your life? For your mom to be that dismissive and say, get out there and deal with it. Whether you're a girl, whether you're a boy.
Pretty fucking impactful.
Pretty fucking impactful. You come to your parents for safety. That's your caregivers. They're supposed to protect you. Now think about this. Years later, this person is a politician and comes from an influential political family. And she attempts to run for the United States presidency. She's, as you can imagine, on the presidential campaign, which takes a toll physically, because whether you're aware of it or not, these people are running from event to event. They got a very busy schedule. I mean, even just him alone running for city council, he was out there on a daily basis.
Living out of buses.
He was out here. He was out here canvassing homes. He was canvassing police, departments. He was everywhere. He had a busy schedule. That's on the city council level. Imagine what the workload must be when you're running for the presidency of the United States. Now imagine that same little 5-year-old girl that now is running for the president of the United States, falling out on one of her on her way to make an appearance for her campaign, and not realizing why she had fell out, and then her staff comes to know a couple of days later that she had been suffering from pneumonia for the last 15 days. But she didn't want to bother anybody with her issues. Because in her house, she was taught that you go out there and you deal with it, because they don't raise sissies in this house. And you know who I'm talking about?
Who?
Hillary Clinton.
I was just gonna say that. Oh shit.
Hillary Clinton.
No way.
So think about that. Think about how one event that she experienced at 5 years old, and I might be off by a year or two on the age, but she was fairly young from, the story that Dr. Gabor Mate told,
Damn.
Think about that. Being in a prestigious place in government, and being the first lady at some point, and now running for the presidency herself, but being sick and not feeling that she could fucking tell anybody, because she's not what worries her shouldn't be anybody else's concerns. She should just keep her mouth quiet and continue to fucking push on.
Because all she knows is to deal with it.
All she knows is to deal with it.
That stuff gets cemented into your cerebral cortex and just, it's there.
Yeah, not even to mention that, I think he read this out of an autobiography of her. But she also mentioned how her dad used to fucking beat her and her brothers, and you know what I mean? So it's like, you never know how small, how impactful something that happened to us in our childhood could affect us. But like I said, something as small as not being heard. That's just one example of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we could unpack that tiny little subject, and everybody can assimilate to it on a certain level, whether it's extreme, whether it's minuscule. But something as small as not being heard, or feeling that your voice matters, or not feeling protected when you are at a very young age and not yet an adult. Now, I'm not for being an overbearing mother or an overbearing parent, because that's just not natural. That's not what nature does. What does nature do? Lion cubs, to give you an example, their mothers are very protective of them when they're cubs, but eventually the mother has to release them into the wild and they need to find their way, and they need to learn how to fend for themselves. They need to know how to hunt for themselves. They need to know how to protect themselves.
Yeah.
That's just the natural thing. It's not natural to be an overbearing mother or have overbearing parents and you try to protect your kids until fucking, you know, they're fucking 50 years old. That's another extreme.
Yeah.
But, you know, to get back and not get too far off course, yeah, I you know, just like you said, that you can assimilate to that, and there's been maybe perhaps parts in your life where you've done that, maybe not unintentionally.
Yeah.
But see, once you lay out the landscape and put it in a different perspective, it's like, oh,
Well, that's what that was.
that's what I've been doing.
Because people do it without thinking, and
Yeah,
sometimes they don't even know it. And it's no you know, no scrutiny, no blame on anybody, no slam on anyone,
Yeah.
because this is something that we have learned, you know, and we're sharing this with you, and we're putting it together in a way that everyone can kind of open their eyes and their hearts and maybe even in their memories, and things will start to make sense. Things will start to click. Certain behaviors, certain incidents, certain, you know, circumstances within your family, in your past, in your childhood. We're not saying that those things are going to be right, but they're going to make sense to you because you are the only one who knows what happened during that time frame. And we just want to shed some light on that to kind of see, you know, and Jess gave a really good example about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Where that type of thing will allow everyone to look at their own circumstances and their own childhood and their own experiences and put that together themselves. Like, you know, we always do here. We try to get people to think and push and kind of dig a little deeper, you know. We don't open the door. We just show you the way and kind of hope that you know, kind of find a good place to know that, hey, you're going in the right direction. But this even makes me think, even when we're talking, things that happen to me, and I'm like, holy shit, that's a lot of reasons why I'm so independent. That's why I do a lot of things myself, and it's because.
And you know, just think about the things that she's been able to achieve. You know.
Oh yeah.
Even though there's always going to be criticism.
Always.
You know, but you know, we're not. This is not what this podcast is about. We could care less about the government and politicians, but we're just talking to people on an individual level. Like I don't feel any difference of her or her husband. Like, these are just fucking people, bro.
Yeah.
Whether you want to look at them from the title that they carry or what they've been in government, or, you know what I mean? Like, the scandals that they've had. Like, listen, at the end of the day, none of that shit matters. We're still fucking people with fucking real fucking feelings, and we're souls. At the core, that's what we are. We're not bodies that have a soul. We're souls that have a body. And so everybody, doesn't matter if they're right-wing, left-wing, Democrats, Republicans, like, everybody's still a fucking person. Like, you know, when Trump got fucking sick with COVID and everybody was fucking happy and they thought he was gonna die, like, that's some foul shit. Like, you don't know what this man's been through either, you know what I mean? Like, his dad used to be, you know, a hard character, you know what I mean? And so, you know, it's easy to pass fucking judgment on these political figures. And, you know, you put yourself on that platform, you gotta know it's gonna be territory you're gonna have to deal with.
It comes with the environment. It comes with the territory,
Yeah,
and
sure.
it's a different beast.
Yeah.
You know, like, just like they have scandals, hey, we have our own fucking scandals. And you know what? The reason why nobody knows about it or is talking shit because we're not on that platform.
Exactly.
You know, but we all have it. We all have the same problems. We all have the same issues. It's just that they are on a different. They're on a different pedestal. They're on a different level.
Yeah.
And when you go there, you know what to expect. You're putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And those people need to be ready for that. But again, it's like you said, it's so easy for everyone to pass judgment.
Yeah.
You know, when judgment, try pointing that finger at yourself and see what happens.
Even furthermore, it's like we're the number one victims of that. We sometimes are the worst. We pass the worst type of judgment on ourselves.
Yeah.
We're the judge and the executioner, bro. I've been guilty of that so many fucking times, bro. You know what I mean? And you know, we fall into these slumps of or these patterns that are just toxic, and we talk negative about ourselves, and we're, you know what I mean, we get to calling ourselves names that, you know what I mean, are uh, you know what I mean, just basically we're great at beating ourselves down when something doesn't go according to plan or according to how we think things should have worked out. When, you know, it's the farthest thing from the truth. Like, sometimes you're not supposed to understand what's going on. It won't come until later.
Yeah.
Like, we've used the analogy before, like in school, first they give you the lesson, then they give you the test. In life, first you get the test, then you get the lesson.
Yeah.
So it's not always supposed to make sense, but life always unfolds for us exactly how it's supposed to, whether you understand it at the moment or not. The worst thing that's ever happening to you, and when you feel your life falling apart, guess what? It might just be falling into place for the first fucking time.
Yeah.
But in order to be creation, there has to be destruction. You know? And so it doesn't always have to make sense, but I want to ask the people listening or the people watching now, ask yourself and be brutally honest with yourself, even if it hurts. Do you think at any point in your life you perhaps have held yourself, your best self, hostage in spite of feeling that people don't deserve the best you, or in spite of like people don't care what I gotta say, and I've always been told that since I was a child, and so whatever I want to express, I'm just going to keep it to myself? Think about it. And then think about it some more. And if you find any truth to that statement, I would implore you, try to unpack that. Try to unpack that. Try to find out how. Try to pinpoint the situation that might have started that pattern of behavior in you, where you felt not worthy, where you felt that if you spoke up, people were just going to dismiss it. You know, stop being so angry at yourself for something that might not have even been your fault. Are you holding yourself hostage in evolving and being the best version of you because of critique that you get from your own family members when you talk about a dream that you might have, or a goal that might seem far-fetched to obtain, and your own family is the one to take the fucking air out your balloon and be like, you're crazy to fucking think like that. We will never be that. You could never be that. Because unfortunately, sometimes it's our own family, our own people that are supposed to love us, our own friends that are going to discourage you from a dream that seems far-fetched because they wouldn't be able to achieve it. It doesn't mean that you can't achieve it. If God puts a thought in your mind, it's for a fucking reason. It's also for a reason. There's also a reason why he didn't put it in these fucking people that are deflating your fucking balloons mind, because they could never get there with that type of fucking thinking. So fuck the noise. Fuck whatever they tell you. You think as big as you want. And guess what? Best advice is when you have a best fucking dream, or when you have a huge fucking dream, don't share it with small minds, because it's too big for them. They could never understand you. They could never fucking understand you. So it's okay. Some things, creation is done in silence. Destruction is loud. So you just keep your goals to yourself, slowly crush them, slowly celebrate by yourself, clap for yourself, and be like, fuck yeah. Even when nobody knows what you're up to. Allow yourself to free the best version of you. You deserve that. Everybody deserves that. Stop holding your best potential hostage because you're angry, because you're spiteful. Fuck that noise. The biggest thing you could do for yourself to advance yourself is to release all the potential that you have. And let that version of yourself go free, because that version of yourself deserves to come out to the world. Everybody was born with a fucking purpose, and if you keep holding the best version of yourself hostage, we'll never know what that is. Furthermore, you'll never know what that is. And that would be a travesty on a personal level and for everybody. You might be the next biggest thing that figures out a cure for cancer, the next biggest thing that figures out how to actually end all this,
You might save a life.
you might save a life. You don't know. Don't let people deflate you. But furthermore, you're the biggest roadblock to your own success. Like we've said plenty of times, and I've told Dave, and I've even personal conversations when I'm having discussions with myself. It's like, listen, it's not your fucking job to know how it's gonna happen. Just trust that it will. Show up every day with a fucking positive attitude and a grateful attitude, and be a magnet for what's supposed to come. Be a magnet. Just trust that the universe has a fucking plan for you. Of course you don't know what to do, but just fucking let yourself go like a fucking leaf on a river. Let that stream take you where the fuck it's gonna take you. That's where you're supposed to go. The moment you try to inflect and be like, man, it's too big of a job for you, obviously. That's why you're frustrated. Just do your best, show up, give everything you have, be positive on a daily basis, champion for yourself, cheerlead for yourself, be your own biggest fucking fan, instead of giving that love away so freely to people that don't even fucking deserve it in your life sometimes, whether it be friends, whether it be loved ones, significant others, girlfriends, wives, husbands, kids. Save all that shit. That's your currency. Your energy is your currency. Focus on you. Focus on you. If everybody thinks you're a piece of shit, fine. What other people think doesn't matter. That's just a projection of themselves. We are mirrors to each other. Guess what, David? If I think you're a piece of shit, you know what I'm doing? I'm just projecting how I feel about myself onto you. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. If I think you're a piece of shit, bro. It's just the way I feel about myself, and I'm projecting that shit onto you.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. But, it's like, I thought it was a beautiful subject. I thought it was the correlation that clicked in my mind. I was like, man, this is worthy to be discussed for 45 minutes. And I think there's something in there where I think there could be a beautiful takeaway on an individual basis. Like, fuck yeah, I could see that I might be holding my best self hostage out of spite, out of anger, or because I feel like people don't deserve the best of me. But it's like, fuck people. That's where you go wrong. Like, you deserve the best of you. Maybe you're right, and maybe you're right. Maybe the people that are around you don't deserve the best of you, but you do. So what are you gonna do? Hold yourself hostage for the rest of your life because of the fucking circle that you have? No. You need to free yourself, man. You need to tap into that potential. Don't box yourself into what everybody else is doing in your community, or what your circle of friends are doing in your community, or the people that you went to school with are doing in your community. Break out that shit. Be the motherfucker that really, everybody wants to put their city on the map. Be the motherfucker that actually puts it on the map. Be the motherfucker that actually puts it on the map. Don't just convince yourself you're putting it on the map. Because that's we live in a fantasy world. And everybody we surround ourselves with is a background actor that's supporting that vision that we have convinced ourselves of. So, it's duly noted for me personally that I'm gonna try to expand on this correlation that I made, and it's like, let's all give ourselves that opportunity. Let's all give ourselves that opportunity. There's a lot of problems to be solved out here, and you might just be the one woman or the one man that might actually have a solution. Let's not keep leaving it up to politicians. I just explained to you the type of people that actually are politicians. And I do believe that a lot of them seek that attention because there's something missing in them. The only politician that's very well rounded is Tim McCosker. And by the way, we want to congratulate him for City Councilman District 15.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, Tim. You're a rock star. Next time I get a parking ticket, big guy, I'm making the call.
There is a portrait on the way.
And David's still waiting for the Nobu in Wilmington, by the way.
No.
So yeah, man. Dave, do you have any other
No.
thoughts regarding to
No,
this?
I think this is something like you said, hostage negotiation. These are tactics. These are parts of the brain, ways of thinking that are approached by our government, by agencies, to protect our nation. However, as noble as that is, just like you mentioned, these could serve our society, our kids, our children. A very, very good practice. If these things are being taught to our agents, why isn't it being taught to our society on why these things
That's
happen?
a fucking beautiful point, Dave.
And how
Good shit.
and how it can help these kids, help all children, all kids become aware of this anomaly that they're very unfamiliar with. When they hear these tragedies, it's devastating, and they don't know why, they don't know how. You're going to hear different things in every household. Ta loquito, ta malo, these kids are crazy, whatever, but they don't know. You can't break it down to its very last compound to say, hey, these are why these things happen. Let us explain to you. Let us introduce you to something. And I think it would solve a lot of issues with kids who are, dealing with fear, because fear is a big part of it. Introduced to a new school, a new group of kids, a new environment. It doesn't matter. These things happened to us when we were kids. They happen every day. They're still happening to everyone now.
Yeah.
So why not share that?
Just to allude to something that I said earlier, in the case of Hillary Clinton's mother, when that situation happened, make sure, for your kid's sake, that you are not the mother or father in that story.
Huh?
Make sure, because you see the drastic, how drastic something so small and minuscule can affect somebody's vision or
Way of thinking.
or their development or their involvement throughout life with something that she might have brushed off and never remembered personally.
It's the little things.
It's the little fucking things.
Yeah, it is.
It's the little fucking things.
And yeah, it plays a huge part in growing up. And like I said, as you were talking, I thought about things, when I was a child and going through that. And a lot of things are starting to click. The wheels are turning.
Yeah.
But it does help. But back to my point, I think these things should be taught on a wider scale, not just to agencies but the public.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the things that's growing. It's these mass shootings and things. Look at the consistency. Look at when you get the backstory of these kids. They've never been heard.
Yeah.
They've been neglected. It's so many signs that people just didn't want to deal with. Just to sum everything up. Don't let fear get the better part of you. If you feel like expressing yourself, express yourself. Don't be afraid. It's easier said than done, but you're probably not going to notice it this year or in 5 years or in 10 years. You might notice it in your 20s or 30s, but it doesn't matter. That time will come, and all that matters is that it happens, at your point of evolution. It's supposed to happen, when it's supposed to happen. There's no other way around it. You can't control it, and I think that's the most beautiful thing.
Just a couple last statements. If you're a parent, I think it would behoove you to have this conversation with your kids and maybe try to pinpoint something that might have happened that they've never even thought of again. But maybe through the course of asking the question, something might come up, or they'd be like, well, actually, there was this one time, you know what I mean? Address it now. Try to diffuse this so it doesn't ever get to the extreme of where your loved one or your son or your daughter is going to hold them their best potential hostage because of something that happened that you might not even be aware of. So I would encourage parents to talk to their kids, you know what I mean? Even if they're older, even if they've left the house, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've had plenty of those with my daughter.
Even if they left the house, you know what I mean? There's always stuff that happened that we, as not just as Latino culture, but as a society, you know what I mean? We try to bury under the rug, and those things don't go anywhere.
No, they don't.
You can't bury that type of shit. It either gets addressed or it peeks its ugly head out in a different form in your life. So
in one way or another, it will surface.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, the bill is always due.
absolutely. And so please, one last thought. Are you holding yourself hostage? And if you are, from the bottom of my heart, me and Dave ask you to stop it. Stop it. Stop holding your best potential and the best version of you hostage. We might need you, and we might need you more than you can imagine. So move forward with the big aspirations, the big dreams. Nothing's too far-fetched. Even if nobody else believes in you, me and Dave believe in you.
That's
and
right.
We're here to enable you to be the best version of yourself. So thank you so much for tuning in to episode 31. We love you. Thank you for hanging with us. Thank you for the downloads, the likes. And please, the biggest contribution you can do for us is to share the podcast with other people. We do have YouTube. I do see that consistently. We get a lot more downloads on the podcast platforms. And I understand, most people, it's easier for them to listen than to actually, see a YouTube video. But as long as the message gets through, we greatly appreciate you. And again, me and Dave make the commitment to keep getting better and start bringing you
Of course.
better, topics like the one that we hope we brought you tonight. So thank you, everybody. We love you. And until episode 32.
That's right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
All right.